Hello everyone, and welcome back to Rewilding the Future. Today we're diving into a topic that is both theoretical and deeply rooted in natural history, the idea of rewilding hyenas in North America. In this video, we'll explore the ancient history of hyenas on this continent, how they once thrived here for millions of years, and what led to their extinction. Then we'll look at the modern possibilities. Could hyenas return? Where would they live? And how would they interact with today's wildlife, and even with future rewilded or de-extinct species? From wolves and cougars to bison, pronghorn, elephants, and even mammoths, we'll examine how a returning hyena, or a revived Chasmaporthetes, could fit into the ecological puzzle of North America once again. So join me on this journey through time, science, and imagination, as we uncover what the continent might look like if one of its oldest predators came home. The story of hyenas in the Americas begins roughly 5 to 8 million years ago, during the late Miocene and Pliocene epochs. At that time, the hyena family, Hyenidae, was far more diverse than today, with over a dozen genera spread across Africa, Eurasia, and eventually North America. These ancient hyenas were not the scavenging specialists we often imagine, but rather powerful hunters resembling modern wolves and big cats in both build and behavior. The ancestors of American hyenas crossed into North America from Eurasia through the Bering Land Bridge, the same route used later by mammoths, saber-toothed cats, and early humans. Once in North America, they adapted to open grasslands and steppe environments, becoming top predators in ecosystems that also supported dire wolves, short-faced bears, and saber-toothed cats. Fossil evidence shows that two major species lived on the continent: Chasmaporthetes ossifragus, known as the running hyena, and Chasmaporthetes nitidula, its close relative. Unlike modern spotted or striped hyenas, which are bulky and adapted for bone crushing, Chasmaporthetes had long, slender limbs, a light frame, and sharp teeth suited for slicing flesh. They were built for speed, capable of chasing down antelope, horses, and early bison across the vast prairies and deserts of the Pleistocene Americas. Some paleontologists compare their hunting style to that of African wild dogs or cheetahs. Fossils of Chasmaporthetes have been found across the southern United States, from Arizona and Texas to Florida, as well as in Mexico, showing they were well adapted to a variety of climates. Their presence also overlaps with many other iconic Pleistocene predators: saber-toothed cats, Smilodon fatalis, American lions, Panthera atrox, and dire wolves, Enochion dirus. Yet, unlike those carnivores, Chasmaporthetes was both an active hunter and opportunistic scavenger, capable of cracking bones and consuming entire carcasses when necessary. This versatility helped them survive numerous climatic oscillations for more than 1 million years. Hyenas disappeared from North America about 800,000 to 1 million years ago, during the early to mid-Pleistocene. The reasons for their extinction remain debated, but most scientists point to a combination of climate change and competition. As glacial cycles intensified, North American habitats shifted dramatically, from open savannas to colder tundras and closed forests. These environmental changes reduced the availability of open grasslands where Chasmaporthetes excelled as pursuit predators. At the same time, new and more specialized competitors evolved. The emergence of dire wolves, which hunted in coordinated packs, and the continued dominance of large cats like saber-toothed cats and American lions, likely placed severe pressure on hyenas. Being relatively few in number and adapted for open pursuit, they may have struggled to find suitable prey and territories. Once North American populations declined, the land bridge to Eurasia may have closed due to rising sea levels, cutting them off from their Asian relatives and preventing recolonization. By around 800,000 years ago, Chasmaporthetes vanished from the fossil record, ending a nearly 5 million year chapter of hyena history in the New World. Although hyenas vanished from the Americas long before humans arrived, their legacy endures in the fossil record, and in our understanding of ecosystem evolution. Their presence demonstrates that the Americas were once home to predators from across the Old World, and that global migrations repeatedly shaped Earth's fauna. If hyenas had survived the ice ages, North America might today host herds of bison chased by running hyenas instead of wolves and coyotes. Their extinction marks one of the early major faunal turnovers of the Pleistocene, paving the way for canids, wolves, coyotes, and foxes to dominate the continent's open landscapes. Rewilding hyenas in North America is an ambitious, yet scientifically intriguing concept that ties ancient history with modern conservation. The continent once echoed with the calls and laughter-like cries of Chasmaporthetes, the running hyena, a swift, intelligent predator that ruled the plains and deserts for millions of years before vanishing nearly 800,000 years ago. To restore this lost ecological role, conservationists and paleoecologists have proposed two theoretical paths: reintroducing modern African hyenas as ecological proxies, or reviving Chasmaporthetes through advanced genetic reconstruction, much like ongoing efforts to bring back the dire wolf or woolly mammoth. Each path offers a glimpse into how the American ecosystem might once again benefit from the presence of one of nature's most adaptable carnivores. If we consider rewilding living hyenas, the spotted hyena, Crocuta crocuta, would be the most ecologically compatible candidate. It is the largest, most social, and most behaviorally complex modern hyena species, thriving in open savannas similar to those of Pleistocene North America. Their cooperative hunting, clan structure, and ability to consume entire carcasses, including bone, would allow them to occupy the ecological niche once filled by Chasmaporthetes. Alternatively, the striped hyena, hyena, or brown hyena, Hyena brunea, could play a partial role, though they are more solitary and scavenging in nature. Interestingly, spotted hyenas once lived far beyond Africa. During the Ice Age, they roamed across Eurasia as the so-called cave hyenas, Crocuta spelaea, inhabiting much colder climates than today, including parts of northern Europe, Siberia, and even the British Isles. This lineage adapted to snowy and glacial environments, hunting reindeer, horses, and mammoths. Even in modern times, spotted hyenas are known to survive in mountainous regions of Africa, where snow occasionally falls, showing that they can endure cold weather far better than many assume. The striped hyena, though more solitary and scavenging in nature, also has a surprisingly broad environmental tolerance. Fossil evidence shows that striped hyenas once lived across Europe during colder prehistoric periods, and even today, they inhabit regions with cold winters, such as the Caucasus Mountains, northern Iran, and parts of Central Asia. Their resilience, omnivorous diet, and adaptability make them another potential candidate, especially for semi-arid and steppe regions of North America that experience both hot summers and cold winters. For a truer ecological restoration, scientists might look toward de-extinction biotechnology, using genetic material from fossil remains of Chasmaporthetes, if viable DNA could ever be recovered, to recreate an animal similar to the one that once roamed American plains. This process, theoretically parallel to colossal biosciences' work on the de-extinction of the dire wolf and woolly mammoth, would involve sequencing ancient genomes, identifying the closest living relatives, likely spotted or striped hyenas, and editing embryos to express ancient traits such as longer limbs, increased stamina, and adaptations for running and cold tolerance. Such a hybrid might not be an exact genetic clone of Chasmaporthetes, but it could serve as a functional analog, a living proxy that restores lost ecological processes. The reintroduction or revival of hyenas would require a series of carefully planned stages. First, genetic reconstruction and selective breeding would be essential to ensure that the rewilded hyenas possess physical and behavioral traits suitable for open landscapes, cold winters, and coexistence with modern fauna. Second, Controlled rewilding zones, similar to the ones proposed for mammoths in Arctic Siberia or lions in the Caucasus, could be established in North American reserves such as Yellowstone, the Dakotas, or the Great Basin. These regions already host bison, elk, and pronghorn herds that could sustain a moderate population of mid-sized predators. The third phase would involve gradual ecological integration, monitoring how rewilded hyenas interact with existing species such as wolves, cougars, and bears. Advanced telemetry, AI-driven behavioral observation, and genomic tracking could guide adaptive management strategies, ensuring that the predators balance ecosystems without threatening human communities. Over time, the return of a bone-crushing scavenger hunter could lead to profound ecological benefits, cleaning carcasses, limiting disease spread, and restoring the natural flow of nutrients through ecosystems. Bringing hyenas, or their ecological equivalents, back to North America is not simply about spectacle or curiosity. It is about ecological completeness. Every ecosystem has evolved through millions of years of predator-prey balance, and when keystone predators vanish, landscapes change dramatically. The absence of hyenas removed a unique scavenger hunter that once competed with canids and big cats, reducing the diversity of carnivore guilds and altering the way carcasses were processed in ecosystems. Today, large ungulate populations often overgraze grasslands, while carcasses left by wolves and cougars decay slowly, spreading diseases like anthrax or chronic wasting disease. Hyenas, with their extraordinary bone-crushing jaws and efficient digestive systems, are nature's cleanup crew, capable of recycling organic matter quickly and safely back into the soil. Beyond the ecological value, there is also a symbolic and scientific significance. Reviving or reintroducing hyenas would stand as a testament to humanity's ability to restore what was lost. Not only species, but the balance of entire ecosystems. It would reconnect North America to its deep evolutionary history, to a time when the continent echoed with the sounds of hoofbeats and the laughter-like calls of running hyenas across the plains. Rewilding them would honor that legacy and remind us that conservation is not just about saving what remains. It is about restoring what should have never been lost. If hyenas were ever to return to North America, either through reintroduction of living species or revival of Chasmaporthetes, the selection of suitable habitats would be crucial. The best candidates would be vast, open ecosystems that mirror the ancient grasslands, woodlands, and steppe environments where hyenas once thrived. These areas should offer abundant prey, a stable climate range, and minimal conflict with human settlements. The Great Plains, stretching from Texas and New Mexico through the Dakotas and into southern Canada, represent one of the most suitable regions for rewilding hyenas. These vast grasslands once hosted bison, elk, pronghorn, and wild horses, the same types of prey that Chasmaporthetes hunted during the Pleistocene. The open terrain, low tree cover, and seasonal climate closely resemble the African savannas and Eurasian steppes where modern hyenas still live. A rewilding program could begin with striped hyenas, which are tolerant of both heat and cold and are less aggressive toward livestock than spotted hyenas. Once ecological balance and public acceptance are established, the spotted hyena, or even a genetically engineered Chasmaporthetes-like analog, could be introduced in larger, more remote reserves. These predators would help control carcasses, reduce disease spread, and restore the scavenger-hunter role that North America lost nearly 1 million years ago. Another promising area is the Sonoran and Chihuahuan deserts, which offer a dry, open landscape similar to parts of Africa and Asia, where striped hyenas thrive today. These regions host javelinas, deer, coyotes, and feral livestock, providing abundant scavenging and hunting opportunities. The striped hyena, with its adaptability to semi-arid and rocky terrain, could survive here with minimal human conflict if reintroduced within protected national parks or ecological corridors. Additionally, The deserts of northern Mexico and southern Arizona are biogeographically connected to ancient migration routes used by Chasmaporthetes. Reviving hyenas in these zones would symbolically and ecologically complete a 5 million-year-old cycle, bringing back a species where its ancestors once roamed freely. The Yellowstone ecosystem, including parts of Montana, Wyoming, and Idaho, has already demonstrated successful predator reintroductions, notably the gray wolf. Its diverse habitats, grasslands, forests, and river valleys, could sustain a limited population of rewilded hyenas, especially spotted hyenas or Chasmaporthetes-like analogs. With abundant prey such as elk, bison, and mule deer, and a strong management infrastructure, Yellowstone could serve as a controlled pilot zone for testing hyena reintroduction under modern ecological and ethical standards. Here, hyenas would not compete directly with wolves, but rather fill a complementary role as scavenger hunters, cleaning carcasses and providing balance to nutrient cycles. Their return could enhance biodiversity and serve as a global model for Pleistocene-style rewilding, a practical demonstration of how extinct ecological functions can be restored without destabilizing modern food webs. As global warming reshapes ecosystems, northern grasslands in Alaska and Yukon are expanding, creating landscapes that increasingly resemble the mammoth steppes of the Pleistocene. These emerging ecosystems could one day support a population of cold-tolerant, genetically revived Chasmaporthetes. Similar to the Pleistocene Park project in Siberia, rewilding hyenas here would restore a crucial scavenger-predator dynamic to support large grazers like bison, musk oxen, and wild horses. Such an introduction would be scientifically bold but ecologically justified. These open northern ecosystems lack a bone-crushing carnivore, and hyenas could reduce disease spread, recycle nutrients, and help shape herbivore behavior by creating a more natural predation pressure. Each of these landscapes, the Great Plains, the Southwest deserts, Yellowstone, and the northern steppes, shares three essential traits that make them ideal for hyena rewilding. North America currently lacks a scavenger predator capable of efficiently processing large carcasses like hyenas once did. Wolves and bears leave significant remains. Hyenas would close that ecological gap. The presence of bison, deer, elk, and feral ungulates offers a sustainable food base for both hunting and scavenging. Modern striped and spotted hyenas, as well as their Ice Age relatives, can endure both heat and cold, making these regions climatically appropriate. These lands overlap with the ancient range of Chasmaporthetes, meaning rewilding would not be an introduction of a foreign predator, but a re-establishment of a native lineage lost to time. Rewilding hyenas in North America, whether through living species or a revived Chasmaporthetes, would restore not only a predator, but a process. These animals were vital recyclers, competitors, and indicators of ecosystem health. Their return to the prairies, deserts, and northern steppes would honor 5 million years of evolutionary history and represent a bold step toward ecological wholeness. If hyenas, or a revived Chasmaporthetes, were reintroduced to North America, they would become key regulators of ecosystems, restoring dynamics unseen since the Pleistocene. Their interactions with large herbivores such as deer, elk, bison, pronghorn, horses, and wild cattle would balance populations, recycle nutrients, and revive natural predator-prey pressures. Beyond the great grazers, hyenas would also influence smaller and aquatic edge species, from bighorns and otters to macaques and fish, maintaining ecological stability across mountains, coasts, and wetlands. Their intelligence, scavenging power, and adaptability would make them essential to future rewilded landscapes filled with returning species like tapirs, rheas, elephants, and even mammoths. In every habitat, they would bridge past and present, reawakening the ancient cycle of life, death, and renewal that once defined the wild heart of North America. Hyenas would have a complex interaction with native deer species, such as white-tailed deer and mule deer, depending on the environment. In open plains and light forests, spotted or Chasmaporthetes-like hyenas would primarily target weak, injured, or old deer, serving as a natural control mechanism that keeps populations healthy. These deer have evolved with large predators such as wolves and cougars, so their behavioral responses, heightened vigilance, tighter herding, and avoidance of open areas at night would be similar under hyena pressure. Hyenas would also act as scavengers, consuming deer carcasses left by other predators or roadkill, thereby preventing disease spread such as chronic wasting disease, CWD, which has become a major ecological issue in modern North America. Their powerful digestive systems can safely process pathogens in bone, returning nutrients to the soil faster than any other scavenger species. In northern and mountain regions, elk and moose would represent challenging but significant prey for larger hyenas or Chasmaporthetes. Adult individuals would rarely be hunted directly, but calves or weakened adults could fall victim to coordinated hunting attempts by small hyena groups. The more common relationship would likely be scavenging from elk or moose carcasses left by wolves, cougars, or bears. These interactions would not necessarily lead to direct conflict with other predators. Hyenas typically avoid confrontation unless outnumbering rivals, instead feeding efficiently on leftovers and cleaning bone fragments that no other species can digest. Over time, their presence could help regulate carcass accumulation, reduce disease transmission in wetland or forest habitats, and indirectly support vegetation recovery by keeping ungulate populations in ecological balance. The pronghorn, one of the most ancient North American ungulates, evolved alongside fast pursuit predators like Chasmaporthetes. Their famous speed, capable of exceeding 90 km/h, may have been an evolutionary response to the running hyena's hunting style. If reintroduced today, rewilded hyenas would likely prey selectively on young or sick pronghorns, maintaining evolutionary pressure and ecological stability without threatening the overall population. On open grasslands and steppe habitats, this dynamic would restore a long-lost predator-prey relationship, recreating the balance that existed millions of years ago when pronghorn ancestors shared the plains with the original running hyenas. In areas where non-native deer, such as axis deer, fallow deer, or sika deer, and feral antelope species have established populations, especially in Texas and parts of the Southwest, hyenas could play a key role in limiting invasive species. These introduced ungulates often reproduce unchecked, outcompeting native wildlife and degrading habitats. Hyenas, being opportunistic predators, would help control their numbers naturally, targeting weaker individuals and reducing population booms that harm ecosystems. This would be especially valuable in private reserves or rewilding projects where non-native species dominate. By restoring natural predation pressure, hyenas could help stabilize plant communities, promote biodiversity, and reduce the need for human culling. Feral pigs are one of the most destructive invasive species in the Americas, rooting up vegetation, consuming eggs, and spreading disease. Hyenas would be among the few carnivores physically capable of hunting and killing adult pigs, while also scavenging on carcasses left behind by hunters or other predators. Their bone-crushing jaws and strong coordination make them effective pig controllers, especially in areas like Texas, Florida, and California, where pig populations are exploding. Hyenas could become a natural management tool, reducing the environmental damage caused by feral pigs and limiting disease outbreaks like swine fever or leptospirosis. Their scavenging behavior would also help sanitize ecosystems by consuming dead or wounded animals left in the wild. The collared peccary, native to the deserts and woodlands of the southern United States and Mexico, would have an intriguing dynamic with hyenas. In the Sonoran and Chihuahuan deserts, striped hyenas would likely scavenge pig-like peccary carcasses more than actively hunt them, as peccaries move in herds and can defend themselves aggressively. However, individual predation events, especially on young or isolated peccaries, would occur, creating a natural predator-prey relationship similar to that seen between hyenas and warthogs in Africa. More importantly, hyenas would indirectly benefit peccary populations by cleaning the ecosystem, reducing disease spread from decaying carcasses, and maintaining a balanced desert food web. Over time, both species could coexist as part of a resilient, self-regulating ecological system in the American Southwest. The presence of wild or feral horses across the Great Plains, Nevada, and parts of the Southwest offers a natural opportunity for hyenas to reclaim an ancient relationship. During the Ice Age, species of equus, true wild horses, were among the most common prey of Chasmaporthetes. The running hyenas were specialized pursuit predators capable of exhausting and bringing down young, sick, or injured horses on open grasslands. If rewilded today, hyenas would not threaten horse populations, as they would primarily target carcasses, foals, or weak adults, similar to wolves and cougars. Their scavenging would help clean up horse remains, reducing the spread of pathogens and preventing carcass accumulation in arid regions. Moreover, their presence would restore a natural behavioral check. Wild horses would become more alert, mobile, and ecologically distributed, preventing overgrazing around limited water sources. Wild or feral donkeys, which thrive in desert and semi-arid areas, are another species that hyenas would interact with dynamically. Striped hyenas in particular are well adapted to rocky and dry habitats, similar to the Sonoran and Chihuahuan deserts, where donkeys now roam freely. Hyenas would occasionally prey on weak or juvenile individuals, but would primarily act as scavengers, feeding on carcasses left from drought, disease, or natural causes. By cleaning up decaying remains and limiting population surges through natural predation, hyenas could help restore balance in desert ecosystems, where feral donkeys often overgraze vegetation and deplete scarce water sources. Their presence would mirror the ancient predator-prey interactions between African hyenas and wild asses, creating a functional ecological restoration in the Americas. The relationship between hyenas and bison would be both cooperative and competitive in ecological terms. Ancient Chasmaporthetes likely scavenged heavily from bison carcasses, left by big cats or natural causes, using their powerful jaws to crush bones and extract marrow that no other predator could access. Rewilded hyenas today would play the same vital role, acting as nutrient recyclers in grassland ecosystems where bison already thrive. While adult bison would be nearly invulnerable to direct predation, calves or sick individuals could occasionally fall prey during severe winters. This selective predation would mirror the ecological role of lions and hyenas in African savannas, strengthening herds by removing weak members and ensuring carcasses never linger long enough to spread disease. By controlling carcass decomposition, hyenas would help sustain healthier bison populations and prevent scavenger overpopulation among ravens and coyotes. If future rewilding efforts succeed in restoring saiga antelope to North America, perhaps in steppe and prairie reserves modeled after Ice Age ecosystems, hyenas would be essential in maintaining ecological balance. Saiga once roamed much of Eurasia alongside cave hyenas, wolves, and snow leopards. They evolved as highly migratory grazers, and their extreme reproductive rate requires strong natural regulation by predators. Rewilded Chasmaporthetes or spotted hyenas could fill that role perfectly. In open steppe habitats like the Dakotas, Montana, or northern Alberta, they would pursue young or weak saiga while scavenging on carcasses during harsh winters. Their presence would prevent overpopulation, curb disease outbreaks, and reinforce natural selection for endurance and alertness in saiga herds. This would recreate one of the most iconic Ice Age predator-prey relationships and further the Pleistocene rewilding vision that scientists and conservationists are increasingly exploring. In the rugged canyons and mountain deserts of the American West, bighorn sheep would share territory with striped or spotted hyenas. Hyenas, being opportunistic predators, would rarely attack adult bighorns due to their agility and ability to retreat to steep cliffs, but lambs or injured individuals could occasionally fall prey. More commonly, hyenas would act as scavengers of natural deaths, consuming carcasses left from falls, disease, or cougar predation. This relationship would provide ecological benefits. Carcass removal reduces disease transmission such as pneumonia that spreads through bighorn herds, and nutrient recycling from decayed remains would enrich soil and support alpine plant growth. Over time, hyena presence would also enhance bighorn behavior, making them more alert and adaptive, similar to how modern prey species evolve under natural predator pressure. Tapirs, close relatives of horses and rhinoceroses, once roamed both North and South America. Rewilding them would help rebuild tropical and subtropical forest ecosystems by restoring natural seed dispersal and understory grazing. Hyenas would interact with tapirs much as they do with similar animals today, primarily as scavengers and occasional opportunistic predators. Adult tapirs, weighing up to 250 kilograms, would rarely fall prey except in cases of illness or injury. However, hyenas might occasionally target calves or scavenge from carcasses left by jaguars, pumas, or natural deaths. In doing so, they would prevent disease accumulation in humid forest regions and ensure nutrient recycling in dense vegetation zones. Their presence would add another level of ecological realism to neotropical-style rewilding programs in the southern U.S., Mexico, or Central America, where tapirs could one day return. The large flightless rhea, the South American cousin of the ostrich, could be rewilded into open prairie habitats in the southern Great Plains or the Chihuahuan Desert. Rheas once had ecological counterparts in the prehistoric North American plains birds, which vanished at the end of the Pleistocene. Their reintroduction would help restore seed dispersal and insect control functions once carried out by large ground birds. Hyenas would interact with rheas similarly to how African predators interact with ostriches, rare direct predation, but frequent scavenging. They might feed on eggs or chicks, but adult rheas, capable of sprinting and delivering powerful kicks, would mostly escape attacks. Still, hyenas would benefit from rheas's occasional mortality and nest losses, acting as ecosystem cleaners that prevent decaying material from spreading disease or attracting excessive insects. In a broader sense, hyenas and rheas would co-evolve in behavior, with rheas becoming more vigilant and nomadic, while hyenas gain seasonal food sources during nesting periods, mirroring natural savanna dynamics that maintain balance and biodiversity. Rewilding elephants into North America, whether African savanna elephants or Asian elephants, would mark a profound step in restoring lost megafauna functions. Both species are close analogs of the extinct Columbian and woolly mammoths, and their presence would reshape entire ecosystems by opening forests, dispersing seeds, and creating wetlands through their foraging behavior. Hyenas would interact with elephants as secondary scavengers, rarely, if ever, as predators. They would feed on the remains of elephants that died from natural causes, disease, or cold winters, much like modern hyenas in Africa that consume carcasses left by lions or drought. Their bone-crushing adaptations would make them indispensable in processing elephant remains that few other species could exploit. By cleaning elephant carcasses quickly, hyenas would limit pathogen spread, enhance soil nutrient return, and provide food to other scavengers like eagles, vultures, and coyotes. In this role, they would act as a biological sanitation force, ensuring that massive carcasses do not disrupt local ecosystems. Additionally, hyenas' presence around elephant herds would revive an ancient behavioral dance of tension and respect, elephants displaying defensive postures and hyenas maintaining cautious distance, a timeless predator-scavenger dynamic. The potential revival of woolly mammoths through de-extinction projects such as those envisioned by Colossal Biosciences could re-establish Ice Age ecosystems across Arctic and subarctic North America. In these cold steppe environments, rewilded or genetically engineered Chasmaporthetes analogs would find a perfect home. Just as cave hyenas and Chasmaporthetes once roamed Eurasian mammoth steppes, the new generation of hyenas could become guardians of the permafrost plains, scavenging mammoth carcasses, feeding wolves, and keeping tundra ecosystems clean and active. They would not threaten adult mammoths, but would scavenge from frozen or partially buried remains, consuming bones, cartilage, and tissue that no other predator could digest. Their activity would accelerate nutrient cycling in frozen soils, distributing minerals and nitrogen that sustain tundra vegetation. The interaction between mammoths and hyenas would be a symbol of ecological resurrection. Two species separated by tens of millennia, reunited through science to restore the balance of the ancient mammoth steppe, a biome that once stretched from Spain to Alaska. In rewilded ecosystems with healthy river systems and coastal zones, otters and hyenas would coexist through shared dependence on aquatic prey and carcasses, but would rarely compete directly. Hyenas, though primarily terrestrial, often scavenge near rivers and estuaries, consuming fish remains or drowned animals. River otters, Lantra canadensis, are small, social predators specializing in live fish and crustaceans, while hyenas would more likely feed on leftover kills or carrion along riverbanks. In coastal environments, where sea otters and Hydra lutris help maintain kelp forest ecosystems, hyenas could occupy beaches as scavengers, cleaning up washed-up carcasses of fish, seals, or marine birds. This would make them a valuable ecological filter, preventing the spread of bacteria from decomposing marine animals and keeping shorelines biologically active. On the coasts of the Pacific Northwest, California, or even rewilded Atlantic islands, hyenas would play a new yet natural role as scavengers of seal colonies. Similar to how brown hyenas patrol beaches in southern Africa, North American hyenas could feed on dead seals, fish, or whale carcasses that wash ashore. They might occasionally prey on seal pups if unguarded, though their main function would remain nutrient recycling along coastal ecosystems. Their presence would restore a trophic interaction once common in Ice Age Europe, where hyenas fed along frozen coasts on mammoth and seal remains. Modern rewilding could see them maintaining beach health, keeping scavenger populations like gulls and rats in check, and contributing to a balanced coastal food web. In Florida, where rhesus macaques, Macaca mulatta, have established feral populations since the early 20th century, hyenas could provide an unexpected ecological benefit. These primates have no natural predators in Florida, and have become overabundant in some parks, spreading parasites and competing with native fauna. A population of striped hyenas or smaller Chasmaporthetes-type analogs could act as natural regulators, occasionally preying on macaques or scavenging remains to control their numbers. This interaction would reintroduce predator-prey balance to ecosystems like Silver Springs or Central Florida forests, preventing macaque overpopulation while simultaneously keeping the environment clean of carcasses and waste. Because hyenas are cautious and largely nocturnal, they would not directly threaten human settlements, but would subtly restore the ecological order where introduced primates disrupted it. Hyenas rarely depend on small mammals as a major food source, but their scavenging and opportunistic hunting of rodents, rabbits, and small carnivores would add another layer to the ecosystem web. In open grasslands and scrub habitats, this predation would stabilize rodent populations, reducing overgrazing and preventing plague-like outbreaks that harm vegetation and larger herbivores. Striped hyenas in particular consume a wide variety of small animals, fruits, and insects, making them ecological generalists that strengthen food chain resilience. Their presence would diversify predation patterns and encourage balanced population cycles among small mammals, contributing to a healthier overall trophic pyramid. Hyenas' relationship with birds would be largely symbiotic and indirect. Ground-nesting species such as quail, grouse, or rheas, if rewilded, might lose occasional eggs or chicks to hyenas, but the benefit would outweigh the loss. Hyenas attract secondary scavengers like vultures, eagles, and crows to carcasses, increasing biodiversity and feeding opportunities. At carcass sites, hyenas create miniature ecosystems, microhabitats for dozens of scavenger birds and insects. This role mirrors the African savannas, where hyenas' leftovers sustain entire avian communities. In North America, their return would re-establish this natural nutrient and energy exchange between land mammals and scavenging birds, boosting local biodiversity and resilience. Though hyenas are not aquatic hunters, their influence extends into freshwater and coastal fish ecosystems. They often scavenge on stranded or dead fish, regulate organic matter along riverbanks, and redistribute nutrients from aquatic to terrestrial environments through their waste and movements. In future rewilding zones with interconnected rivers, lakes, and wetlands, hyenas would support aquatic terrestrial nutrient transfer, similar to what bears and crocodiles do today. By removing fish carcasses and drowned animals, they would reduce water contamination, prevent bacterial buildup, and sustain cleaner waterways that benefit amphibians, birds, and mammals alike. Rewilded hyenas, whether living species or revived Chasmaporthetes, would act as balancers of life and death, shaping ecosystems without destroying them. From the plains and forests to the deserts and coasts, they would keep herbivore populations healthy, recycle nutrients, and prevent disease by removing carcasses. Their return would reconnect ancient relationships between predators, grazers, and scavengers, restoring the evolutionary pressures that once defined the continent's vitality. Living alongside wild horses, bison, tapirs, elephants, and even mammoths, hyenas would bridge the gap between past and future, linking life, death, and renewal in a single living cycle. Across North America's reborn wilds, they would serve as quiet architects of balance, reminding us that nature's harmony depends not on domination, but on the eternal rhythm of coexistence. When hyenas, or a revived Chasmaporthetes, returned to North America, they would reconnect the continent's entire predator web. From agile foxes and wolverines to wolves, bears, cougars, and jaguars, every carnivore would once again share in the ancient balance of power lost since the Pleistocene. Hyenas would not replace existing predators, but restore equilibrium, bridging hunters and scavengers, small and large carnivores, mammals and reptiles. Their presence would rekindle old rivalries and silent alliances, uniting wolves, lions, cheetahs, and crocodiles in a living tapestry of cooperation and tension. In bringing them back, humanity would revive more than a species. It would reawaken the timeless dialogue between hunters, scavengers, and kings, restoring the harmony that once defined the wild heart of the Americas. The red fox, one of the most widespread mammals on Earth, is both a skilled hunter and a frequent scavenger. Its diet of small mammals, birds, and carrion would overlap with that of hyenas only slightly. In rewilded North American ecosystems, red foxes would likely benefit indirectly from hyena presence. Hyenas, as dominant scavengers, leave behind scraps of meat and bone fragments that smaller carnivores can consume without risk of infection. Foxes would follow hyenas from a distance, just as jackals trail lions and hyenas in Africa, arriving after the larger predators have finished their meals. In areas with abundant prey, this relationship could evolve into a stable commensalism, where foxes gain food without competition. Hyenas would not actively hunt foxes. They are too small to be worth the effort, and their agility makes them difficult targets. However, foxes would remain cautious, avoiding hyena clans at close range, especially around carcasses. Ecologically, This interaction would create a vertical scavenger hierarchy. Hyenas at the top cleaning large carcasses, foxes following as secondary consumers, and corvids or vultures completing the cycle. This cascading pattern ensures that no organic matter is wasted, restoring the nutrient recycling efficiency that defined Ice Age food webs. The gray fox is more arboreal and forest-adapted than its red cousin. It thrives in mixed woodlands and can climb trees to escape predators, a unique trait among canids. In regions such as the eastern US, Mexico, and Central America, gray foxes would likely coexist peacefully with striped or rewilded hyenas. Because gray foxes hunt primarily rodents, birds, and fruit, and because hyenas are mostly terrestrial scavengers, the two species would occupy distinct ecological niches. Gray foxes might occasionally scavenge the leftovers of hyena kills, benefiting from the larger carnivore's efficiency, but direct conflict would be rare. In fact, hyenas could help stabilize fox populations by reducing disease vectors. By removing rotting carcasses that attract parasites and pathogens, hyenas would create a cleaner, safer environment for smaller carnivores. This relationship mirrors ancient Eurasian ecosystems where cave hyenas and forest foxes coexisted for hundreds of thousands of years. Fossil sites in Europe often contain both species' remains, indicating overlapping ranges but few signs of direct conflict, suggesting a long-standing natural balance that could be rekindled in modern rewilding. The wolverine represents one of the most formidable small carnivores in the northern hemisphere. Despite its size, it possesses immense strength and courage, capable of driving wolves and even bears from carcasses. Its interaction with hyenas, particularly in subarctic or montane rewilding zones, would be one of mutual respect and cautious competition. Wolverines, like hyenas, are expert scavengers and opportunistic hunters, thriving in cold, open landscapes. In regions such as Alaska, the Yukon, or the northern Rockies, potential future habitats for rewilded Chasmaporthetes or cold-tolerant hybrids, the two species would likely compete over carrion but rarely engage in fatal conflict. Wolverines could take advantage of hyena kills by slipping in after the larger predator leaves, while hyenas might occasionally dominate at shared carcasses due to their numbers or strength. In ecological terms, their coexistence would recreate a Pleistocene guild of scavengers, wolverines handling smaller carcasses and high-altitude terrain, hyenas dominating open plains and valleys. Both species would accelerate nutrient turnover in harsh climates, where decomposition is slow, ensuring that even in frozen tundra, death continually fuels life. This synergy between hyenas and wolverines would strengthen northern ecosystems and highlight how ancient predator relationships can adapt anew under modern rewilding. Among all modern predators, gray wolves would have the most dynamic relationship with hyenas. Both species are social hunters that rely on teamwork, strategy, and endurance. Their coexistence would resemble that of wolves and hyenas in Ice Age Eurasia, where Chasmaporthetes and ancestral wolves shared similar prey but divided ecological roles. Wolves, being cursorial pack hunters, would excel at coordinated chases, while hyenas, more robust and opportunistic, would specialize in scavenging and taking over carcasses. Conflicts would occasionally occur, especially around large kills such as elk or bison, but neither species would likely dominate the other. Wolves' pack coordination gives them strength in numbers, while hyenas' bone-crushing jaws and durability make them formidable in close combat. Over time, the two predators would likely establish mutual avoidance and indirect cooperation, with wolves leaving behind skeletal remains and hyenas cleaning them completely. This ecological dance would enhance carcass utilization, reduce disease transmission, and create new feeding opportunities for smaller scavengers and birds. Colossal biosciences projects succeed in reviving the legendary dire wolf. The interactions between revived hyenas and dire wolves would echo the apex carnivore rivalries of the late Pleistocene. The dire wolf, Larger and heavier than the gray wolf, was a pack-hunting megacarnivore adapted for overpowering large herbivores. Chasmaporthetes overlapped with early dire wolves in time and territory, and the two likely competed over carcasses of horses, camels, and bison. In a rewilding scenario, revived dire wolves and Chasmaporthetes-type hyenas could coexist through niche differentiation. Dire wolves would dominate during coordinated hunts and cold seasons when big game is plentiful, while hyenas would thrive year-round as scavengers and opportunists. Their interactions might be marked by both rivalry and ecological partnership, hyenas following wolf packs to clean kills, wolves trailing hyenas to locate prey. Together, these two resurrected predators could restore Ice Age trophic complexity, reawakening a balance unseen for nearly 12,000 years. The Mexican wolf, smaller and more reclusive than its northern relatives, occupies desert and montane habitats of the American Southwest, precisely the kind of terrain where striped hyenas could be reintroduced. The relationship between the two would likely be cautious coexistence rather than open conflict. Mexican wolves rely on small to medium prey like deer and javelinas, while hyenas would scavenge carcasses or hunt rodents, reptiles, and livestock carrion. Their ecological overlap could actually prove beneficial. Hyenas would remove decaying remains that attract disease, and wolves would gain a cleaner, more balanced ecosystem. Occasional competition over a carcass might occur, but the two species' activity patterns differ. Wolves hunt primarily in twilight or early morning, while striped hyenas are nocturnal. This temporal separation would minimize conflict and allow both to function as mutually balancing carnivores in the desert ecosystems of Arizona, New Mexico, and northern Mexico. In the eastern forests and wetlands of North America, rewilded hyenas would encounter eastern and red wolves, species that represent the most endangered and ecologically delicate canids on the continent. These wolves thrive in regions rich in deer, small mammals, and occasional livestock, and their ecological niche overlaps with that of a smaller or solitary hyena species, such as the striped hyena. While competition could occur, particularly over scavenged deer carcasses, the general outcome would likely be spatial and behavioral partitioning. Red wolves prefer dense forests and swamps, while hyenas would focus on open areas and the forest edge. This subtle separation mirrors how spotted hyenas and African wild dogs coexist in the savannas, each species exploiting different prey and hunting styles. In a restored southeastern ecosystem, hyenas would provide an invaluable service as sanitizers, consuming carcasses that might otherwise spread disease among wild and domestic animals, while red and eastern wolves would maintain their role as apex pursuit predators. The coyote, a cunning and adaptable survivor, is found across nearly every landscape in North America. Coyotes and hybrid coy wolves would interact with hyenas in a complex mixture of competition and coexistence. In regions where prey is abundant, like the Great Plains or forest edges, hyenas and coyotes could coexist peacefully, with hyenas scavenging from coyote kills and coyotes benefiting from scraps left by hyenas. However, in leaner ecosystems or areas with heavy competition, coyotes might act as kleptoparasites, attempting to steal from hyena kills. In turn, hyenas, especially the larger social species, would quickly establish dominance through intimidation. Over time, coyotes would likely adapt their foraging behavior, becoming more nocturnal or shifting to smaller prey, effectively rebalancing the mid-sized carnivore niche. This interaction could reduce overabundant coyote populations in some areas, indirectly benefiting ground-nesting birds and small mammals. The American dingo, or Carolina dog, is a primitive feral canine descended from ancient dogs brought to North America thousands of years ago. Their behavior is semi-wild, and they occupy a niche similar to early domesticated canids and small wolves. Hyenas would likely treat them as competitors, much like African hyenas interact with feral dogs near human settlements, through cautious standoffs rather than outright predation. However, in rewilded or semi-wild environments, hyenas could indirectly stabilize American dog populations, curbing overexpansion and reducing disease transmission, such as rabies and distemper, by cleaning carcasses and limiting contact between canids and decaying remains. In the long term, this relationship would help preserve the natural behavior and genetic health of both species while ensuring a balanced predator community. The black bear would be both a competitor and an occasional partner to hyenas in scavenging dynamics. Bears, like hyenas, are opportunistic omnivores, and both would compete for carcasses and fallen fruit. However, because black bears are largely solitary and seasonal feeders, entering hibernation in winter, hyenas would likely dominate in cold months when bears are inactive. At other times of the year, bears might displace hyenas from food sources through sheer size and strength, but hyenas would compensate with persistence, returning to finish carcasses after bears move on. This interaction would create a rotating scavenger cycle, ensuring that organic matter is fully consumed and nutrients are continuously recycled. It would also restore an Ice Age dynamic once common across North America, where cave hyenas and small bears shared carcasses of megafauna in mutual dependence. The grizzly bear, one of the last true megacarnivores of North America, would represent both a rival and a crucial ecological counterpart to hyenas. Their relationship would mirror that of African spotted hyenas and lions, marked by competition, tension, and ecological necessity. Grizzlies, with their immense strength, could displace hyenas from kills, while hyenas would excel at finding carrion and cleaning up what bears leave behind. This dynamic would maintain ecological balance in rewilded northern ecosystems. Hyenas would benefit from the scraps of bear kills, while bears would benefit from hyenas' carcass detection skills, following their scent trails to fresh food. Over millennia, similar relationships between hyenas and large omnivores shaped the behavior and distribution of both species. In a rewilded Yellowstone or Alaskan environment, these two powerful scavengers would re-establish that timeless balance, the bear as the breaker and the hyena as the finisher, each completing the other's role in nature's cycle. The bobcat, a solitary and adaptable predator, would coexist with hyenas much as it does today with coyotes and wolves. These small felids, hunting mainly rabbits, rodents, and small deer, would seldom compete directly with hyenas, which focus on larger prey and carcasses. In areas where both overlap, especially the deserts and woodlands of the southern United States, bobcats would benefit from hyenas' role as ecosystem sanitizers. Hyenas, by consuming carcasses that attract disease, create safer, cleaner habitats for bobcats and other small carnivores. Occasionally, bobcats might scavenge leftover hyena kills, just as wildcats do in Africa and Asia. Because bobcats are cautious and nocturnal, conflict would be minimal. This quiet coexistence mirrors ancient Eurasian landscapes, where small lynxes shared territory with Chasmaporthetes and cave hyenas for millennia without either species threatening the other's survival. In northern forests and boreal plains, Canadian lynxes would share the wilderness with cold-tolerant hyenas or Chasmaporthetes-like analogs. These lynxes depend almost entirely on snowshoe hares and are highly specialized for snowy environments. Hyenas, being heavier and adapted for open or semi-open terrain, would pose no direct threat. Instead, the two would exist in complementary ecological layers. Lynxes maintaining small prey cycles, while hyenas focus on large mammals and carrion. During severe winters, hyenas might scavenge lynx kills left behind or feed on carcasses of animals that succumb to cold, starvation, or wolves. In turn, lynxes might benefit from hyenas, reducing the risk of disease spread from decomposing remains. In frozen northern regions where decomposition is slow, hyenas' bone-crushing power would help accelerate nutrient cycling, indirectly supporting plant regrowth and prey abundance for lynxes. In southern Texas, Mexico, and Central America, Ocelots, small, spotted forest cats, would share tropical ecosystems with striped hyenas or smaller, rewilded descendants of Chasmaporthetes. Ocelots are stealthy ambush hunters that thrive in dense vegetation, while hyenas are open-terrain generalists. Their relationship would thus be defined by habitat separation and mutual tolerance. Hyenas would occasionally scavenge ocelot kills or consume carrion that attracts insects and pathogens harmful to smaller predators. In this way, their presence would enhance forest health, reducing disease pressure and supporting more stable prey cycles. Ocelots, in return, would avoid direct encounters by hunting in thick vegetation at dawn and dusk. Both species would fulfill different roles in tropical rewilding. The ocelot as the silent shadow, the hyena as the tireless recycler. The cougar, North America's dominant native big cat, would be both a rival and an ally to rewilded hyenas. Both are solitary yet wide-ranging carnivores with overlapping diets: deer, elk, and smaller mammals. In ecosystems like Yellowstone, the Rockies, and the Great Basin, hyenas and cougars would compete over carcasses, but such conflict would likely be rare and ritualized. Cougars, ambush predators reliant on stealth and surprise, would kill efficiently but eat slowly, often leaving remains hidden in vegetation. Hyenas, using scent and endurance, would find these cached kills, feeding after the cougar departs. This relationship, while occasionally tense, would mirror that between leopards and hyenas in Africa, an ancient interplay of theft, evasion, and balance. The result would be full utilization of carcasses and a reduction in waste and disease. Over time, hyenas' presence might alter cougar behavior, encouraging faster feeding or higher kill rates, which in turn would boost scavenger biodiversity. Both predators would remain stable in population, each fulfilling its ancient role, one as the silent assassin, the other as the relentless recycler. The jaguar, the Western Hemisphere's largest native cat, would represent one of the most powerful competitors for hyenas. Jaguars and Chasmaporthetes overlapped in territory for hundreds of thousands of years during the Pleistocene, especially in Mexico and the southern United States. Their modern reunion would reignite a rivalry older than humanity itself. In dense forests, jaguars would dominate as ambush hunters, while hyenas would rule the open clearings and savannas, cleaning up carcasses and pursuing smaller prey. Yet in transitional zones, riverbanks, wetlands, and dry forests, the two would meet, sometimes peacefully, sometimes in tension. Male jaguar coalitions, if reintroduced or protected, would likely outmuscle individual hyenas at fresh kills, while female coalitions, more secretive and cautious, might tolerate hyenas nearby as scavengers. This dynamic balance would resemble the interaction between lions and hyenas in Africa, competition laced with necessity. Hyenas would benefit from jaguar kills, ensuring no biomass is wasted, while jaguars would gain from hyenas' ability to locate dying or diseased prey. Together they would control herbivore populations, recycle nutrients, and restore trophic diversity in ecosystems spanning from Texas to the Yucatan. If cheetahs are rewilded into the Great Plains or Southwest, as part of a broader Pleistocene restoration, they would represent the speed and elegance of open-land predators. Cheetahs and hyenas have coexisted for millions of years in Africa, and their relationship is well documented. Cheetahs rely on speed and visibility, while hyenas rely on endurance and strength. Hyenas occasionally steal cheetah kills, but the two rarely fight to the death. Instead, they form a predator hierarchy where cheetahs provide fresh kills and hyenas complete the cleanup. In North America, the same relationship could emerge naturally. Cheetahs would target pronghorns and small deer, while hyenas, following from afar, would ensure every kill benefits the ecosystem. This partnership, however unequal, creates ecological efficiency. Cheetahs thrive as hunters without decaying prey left to waste, and hyenas thrive as scavengers without needing to hunt constantly. Together, they would recreate the delicate balance of the African plains, transplanted once more to the heart of America. Perhaps the most dramatic relationship in a rewilded North America would be between hyenas and lions, whether African populations introduced for ecosystem restoration or genetically revived American lions, the colossal Ice Age species that once ruled the continent. In such a scenario, hyenas would once again become the eternal rivals of lions, as they have been for millions of years. Lions would dominate the hunt, powerful social apex predators capable of bringing down bison, horses, and even juvenile elephants. Hyenas, more numerous and opportunistic, would follow lion prides, waiting for opportunities to scavenge or overwhelm small groups. This relationship would generate a dynamic of balance through conflict. Lions keep hyenas from overexploiting carcasses. Hyenas ensure lions' kills are fully consumed, returning every fragment to the earth. The presence of both would revive the Pleistocene guild of mega-carnivores, restoring behavioral diversity, predator competition, and landscape-wide fear responses in herbivores, key components of a functioning, self-regulating wilderness. In southeastern wetlands and river deltas, hyenas and alligators would occupy overlapping ecological zones without direct predation. Hyenas, scavenging near water, might occasionally feed on drowned mammals or fish remains left by alligators, while alligators might consume hyenas that stray too close to the water. This mutual caution would mirror relationships between African crocodiles and hyenas along the Nile or the Okavango. Each predator would recognize the other's power and domain, the hyena on land, the alligator in water. Together, they would maintain ecotonal stability, ensuring carcasses in wetland environments are rapidly processed, nutrients circulate between land and river, and no resource is wasted. In southern Florida and the Caribbean coastal wetlands, American crocodiles would mirror the role of their African relatives, sharing estuaries and mangrove shores with striped or spotted hyenas. Here, hyenas would scavenge on beaches and mudflats, consuming carcasses of fish, turtles, or dead dolphins, while crocodiles dominate the water. Occasional tension would arise when both converge on the same carcass, but these interactions would establish mutual boundaries of respect. In such zones, the two species would complement one another's ecological roles, crocodiles disposing of aquatic carcasses, hyenas cleaning terrestrial remains. Together, they would create a seamless nutrient cycle across land and sea. In Florida and other subtropical rewilding zones, Burmese pythons have become a destructive invasive species, decimating native mammals and birds. The reintroduction of hyenas could serve as a biological control mechanism. Hyenas would prey upon young or weakened pythons and scavenge the carcasses of those killed by vehicles or cold snaps. Large adult pythons could pose a threat to juvenile hyenas, but overall, the balance would favor the hyenas. Their acute sense of smell and scavenging instinct would help reduce python carcass decay and disease spread, while their hunting of small snakes would keep populations under check. This dynamic would restore predation pressure in Florida's overrun wetlands, supporting the recovery of native species by re-establishing natural control over one of the continent's most dangerous invasive predators. Rewilded hyenas would restore harmony among North America's predators, weaving foxes, wolves, bears, and big cats back into a balanced ecological web. Smaller carnivores would follow and feed, while larger ones would hunt and dominate, each playing its role in nature's ancient rhythm. Hyenas would serve as the bridge between hunters and scavengers, ensuring that no death is wasted and every creature contributes to life's renewal. From forests to plains and coasts, their return would rekindle the Pleistocene balance, a living tapestry of fear, respect, and cooperation, where every heartbeat echoes the wild order of the past reborn. And so, if we really imagine hyenas, or a revived Chasmaporthetes, running once again across the Great Plains, the deserts of the Southwest, the flooded forests of the southeast, and even the mammoth steppes of the far north, we're not just talking about bringing back a scary predator. We're talking about restoring a missing process, the bone crushers, the recyclers, the cleaners of the land. Hyenas turn death into soil, carcasses into nutrients, chaos into balance. They shape how wolves hunt, how bison move, how foxes, vultures, and even beetles make a living. For almost 1,000,000 years, North America has been without this strange, powerful piece of its own story. And rewilding them would mean admitting that our ecosystems are not complete with only half of their original cast. So now I want to hear from you. Should hyenas return to North America? Would you support reviving a functional, running hyena, like Chasmaporthetes, through de-extinction? Or do you think we should focus only on protecting the predators that are still here today? Tell me in the comments what you think about Pleistocene rewilding, which species you'd bring back, and where you'd release them first. If you enjoyed this journey into the Lost Predator Guild of the Americas, don't forget to like the video, share it with a friend who loves wild history, and subscribe to Rewilding the Future so you don't miss what comes next. Because the story doesn't end with hyenas. The next video will be about rewilding the Asiatic lions in West Asia and the Caucasus, the return of the real kings of the steppe and the mountains, and what it would mean to bring lions back to the lands where they once ruled.